Thank you for joining me today for our Tools for Life Learning Center workshop, Radon in Your Home, What You Need to Know to Stay Safe. I am here with Jay Lynham from National Property Inspections to cover what radon is and how to mitigate it in your home if you do have a positive test, and we'll even cover how to get those tests. Jay, thank you so much for being here with us, and I'm going to pass the mic over to you so you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Tara. All right, so what is radon? It's one of the things that we're going to be talking about today. What is radon and how do we deal with radon if we do have it? Okay, so radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer among non-smokers. It is the second leading cause of lung cancer in the United States and Canada, and next to cigarette smoking, and it claims about 21,000 lives each year in the United States. And basically what it is the decay of uranium, which is naturally occurring everywhere, and there's radon in the air you breathe outside, but it's at such a low level, it's not harmful. It's just when it gets concentrated in your home that it becomes a problem. So we're going to talk about exactly what it is and how to get rid of it. So it's radioactive gas that comes from natural decay of uranium. It's found in nearly all soils. It typically moves up through the soil to the air of your home through cracks and other holes in the foundation. And so since it is a gas, it does move through microscopic cracks, any little tiny penetrations in the home. And as it comes up through the ground, it typically hangs out in basements. So any building can have a potential radon problem. So radon can be found in any home, school, office, public building, new or old, like it says here, well sealed or drafty. It can be found in basements, crawl spaces, or slabs. So a common misconception that a lot of people have is that radon only occurs in homes with basements. Well, we found it when we do our testing on homes that are just a slab on grade or that are over top of a crawl space that's vented, so it doesn't matter. The only way to know if you have radon is to test for it. Okay, so it can come from cracks in solid floors, construction joints, cracks in walls, gaps in suspended floors, gaps around service pipes, cavities in walls, and the home's water supply. So cracks in solid floors, so if you were over top of a crawl space, you could come up through there, through the cracks. Construction joints, so if you have a concrete basement, let's say, and you have concrete walls, the concrete slab or floor where it abuts the wall, that's a construction joint, and it's usually not caulked. It's just a construction joint, so that would be something that one way that they would need to seal it up is by caulking it, or any kind of cracks in walls, or any gaps. You just think about it, it's just a gas that can fit through anything. Okay, so now that you found out that you're concerned about radon, how do we test for it? So in the United States, the amount of present radon is measured in picocuries a liter. Okay, up in Canada they measure it in becquerels, but here we do it in picocuries a liter after Marie Curie, who actually kind of discovered it way back. And there are two types of short-term testing. There's an active test and passive testing. So active testing is kind of what a certified radon measurement specialist would do. They would go out and they would set a box of computer, let's say, that takes a breath of air once an hour usually to test the radon in your home. Or they have passive tests, which is something a homeowner can do, they can purchase, and it's more of a charcoal type of test, and it just gathers radon and it gets sent to a lab. So if you look at this map, it's a little bit scary for where you live here. If you're on the East Coast over in Virginia where we are, it's pretty red there, and that's zone 1. And zone 1 is the highest levels of radon. So Loudoun County is actually marked as zone 2, but that's only because they haven't been able to update the data that they've acquired over time. It'd be too expensive. But if you contact the EPA in Virginia, they will tell you that Loudoun County is moving very rapidly towards zone 1 now that they have more testing and information available. So that puts you at the highest level. So some of the levels, anything over 4.0 picocuries a liter of air is considered an elevated level of radon. Okay, so I work in and around Loudoun County. I've gotten results as high as 27 in Loudoun County, and as I've moved west out towards the Winchester area, I've got them over 100. So it is around this area quite a bit. Okay, so even if a home has been built to be radon resistant, every new home should be tested for radon as soon as possible after occupancy. So if you have tests, like I said, of 4 picocuries a liter or more, a radon fan can be easily added to a passive system to make it an active system and further reduce radon levels. So what does all that mean, having a home that has been built radon resistant? Some builders out there are adding certain things to the home while it's under construction to be able to make the mitigation of radon quite easy. So they're putting in what's called passive systems, and basically it's plumbing pipes that run from the slab up through the walls and up out the roof. So it's all concealed behind the wall. That will take any kind of passive gas that wants to come underneath of the home, and it'll take the path of least resistance to the exterior. But if you want to, if you still have elevated levels of radon, they can just add a fan to it. So when doing some testing, ensure that the test is approved. Okay, they sell some tests out there that aren't approved. What I recommend are these. These are some do-it-yourself test kits that you can do. You can go to radon.com and order those. They're about $18. Instructions are really simple. You open them up and you hang them in your basement or the lowest livable space in your home for about 3 days, and then you seal them up and you send them back to the lab and they analyze it for you. So those are approved, and those are actually pretty good. So radon.com, I'd recommend those. So the EPA does not approve radon test devices, okay? The National Environmental Health Association approves them, as does the National Radon Safety Board, okay? So this is another testing device. This is what we use. These are continuous radon monitors. There's several types of those, and those get approved by the NEHA and the NRSB. Okay, so passive testing method. So passive devices, they don't require power or anything like that. They could be charcoal canisters or alpha track detectors, charcoal liquid sanitation, and electric ion chambers. All right, these are all types of passive tests that are able to be used during real estate transactions. So what these are charcoal. Okay, and they're very simple to use. And they take about 48 hours to complete. The ones that are in the envelope, they request 3 days, so they get a little bit better result. Okay, so testing guidelines. So testing devices should be placed at the lowest living area of the home. All right, so what that means is if you have a house with a basement, you want to put it there. If you have a house with an unfinished basement, it can still be a livable space. It could be finished to be a livable space, or you may use it as a livable space even when it's unfinished. So you'd want to test in the basement there. If you had a house with a crawl space, you would not put the test device in the crawl space. You would just place it on the floor above the crawl space. Okay, and like it says, minimum 48 hours, and ensure that the test is approved. Okay, the test is approved by the EPA, not the testing device. That's a little bit confusing there, but just ensure that the tests are approved. If you were to do it yourself, you can get those at radon.com. And no, they're not paying me to say that. I just like them. Okay, so radon mitigations. Now we found out that we have radon in the house and we're freaked out. Oh no, what do we do to get rid of it? It's really easy to get rid of. So Radon mitigation is a method of reducing radon levels in a home. So what level of radon is unsafe and when should you mitigate? So anything over 4.0 picocuries a liter, okay, is what the EPA considers unsafe. They would like to see levels of 1.3 in every home, which is very achievable. I've been in homes that had, like I said, over 100, and they were able to mitigate that down to like 0.5. 0.5. So that's very easy to get rid of. So with active continuous monitoring testing, level 4.0 or higher, the EPA recommends installing a radon mitigation system. And then with passive or canister testing, they want you to take the average of 2 results. So what that means is that this machine here is a little bit better, and it's a little bit smarter, and if you have 4 or higher, they want you to go ahead and mitigate. With these, they recommend you do 2 tests. Now you can do 2 tests side by side, or you could do one now and wait a month and do another one, and at that time you want to average them. And then if you have an average of 4.0 or higher, it is recommended to mitigate. Okay, so passive mitigation system. So if you look at this little picture here, all right, so A, all right, that's the stone underneath of your house that the concrete slab sits on. Okay, B is a vapor barrier. So in between the stone and your concrete slab, they put a piece of plastic down. Okay, then they pour the concrete on top of that. All right, C, they're trying to show sealed joints. That's where I was talking about the slab hits the concrete wall and around any kind of penetrations, plumbing penetrations, etc. They would want to seal those. Okay, and then D, which is the pipe, which is the radon mitigation system. This is a passive system. It's either a 3 or 4 inch diameter PVC pipe. Pretty easy. Just goes up through the roof. Okay, and then E, they have a junction box in the attic for the later installation of a fan. They don't always add that, but a good builder does because they're thinking ahead in case there's some issues. So that is a passive system. So the theory here is that any gas will travel through the stone or the gravel underneath of the house. It'll find that pipe through natural suction called the stack effect. It'll help draw it slowly in that direction and then vent it out through the roof. That is pretty simple how a passive system works, and we'll go to the next slide. All right, so an active system. It's exactly like that, except we're adding a fan to it. Now there are multiple kinds of systems. So here are a couple listed. Sub-slab suction. So what that is either you have a slab on grade home or you have a basement with a slab in it, excuse me. You hook your pipe through that, and then you add your fan, and that pulls the gas from underneath of the slab. The drain tile suction hooks actually to the drain tile that runs around the inside of the house, or excuse me, the outside of the house that goes to the interior where your sump pump is, and that they hook to that to help pull gas out of there. They have a submembrane suction, and what that's for is a crawl space. So if you have a crawl space, to put plastic down as a vapor barrier in between the dirt and the bottom of your home. And since there's no concrete or slab in there, they run pipe underneath of that and seal that up, and that pulls the gas out from underneath of the plastic, in between the dirt and the plastic, before it gets into your home. Or a combination. Some houses have a basement and a crawl space, and so you get a combination variety of any of these tied in together and venting through the roof. So pipe termination. This is kind of important. Actually, I was just out at a house this morning and we had improper pipe termination. We found elevated levels of radon. They called us back out. We went out to the house and the radon pipe was discharging right at the eave, about 18 inches away from a window. So if you think about that, we're pulling gas out of the basement, we're opening the window, and we're pumping it into the house. So not too smart. It's pretty simple. All right, so the pipe termination, as it comes up through the slab, comes up through your house, it should go above the roof. And where this happens is if you've got a house that's already built and it has no radon system in it, we have to put a system in, say through the basement, then we have to come to the outside of the house and then go up the exterior side of the house. And that's where you run into problems. So it should be above the roof, should be 10 feet or more above ground level. All right. It should be 10 feet or more from any window, door, or other opening into conditioned space that's less than 2 feet below the exhaust point. And then be 10 feet or more from any opening into another building. So everything you just have to remember is 10 foot, 10 foot, 10 foot. And if you look at it and you feel like the window is awful close to the discharge pipe, it probably is. It's kind of common sense way to think about it. Okay, so that's pretty much it. How to get rid of it is really simple. If you run into radon, what you want to do is you just want to get a professional out there to mitigate it. So, thank you.
Jay, thank you so much for that. It was very educational. I do have a basement, so now I have a little work to do, I think, over here to see where we stand on this. So I have my chat up here. If anyone has any questions and you've joined in, please go ahead and ask some questions. If you're on Facebook, please ask some questions in the comments. We will try to get to as many as we can. I do see one here from Amy. Amy, thank you for joining us and asking a question. Jay, any recommendations on local profession to install a system? Any recommendations on local professionals to install a system?
Actually, no, I don't. But what I can tell you is I work all over the area and there are many qualified people out there. But if you go to DPOR, okay, Department of Professional and Occupancy, something, I forget what it stands for, DPOR, DPOR. What does that stand for, Tara?
You got me.
Yeah, I don't know. We could Google that. Anyway, if you go to DPOR, okay, they have a list of radon measurement specialists, radon mitigation specialists that have all been approved by the state of Virginia, okay? Or if you were in West Virginia, same kind of thing, okay? To find an approved radon measurement specialist or radon mitigation specialist in your area that could help you out.
Great.
Hope that answers your question. I'm sorry, I don't know what DPOR stands for.
Yeah. And that we will send a link out so that people can access that easily. Thank you. Do home inspectors, I have another question, I apologize. Do home inspectors automatically perform a radon test when you call them to your home?
No, we don't. We need to know if you would like a radon test, number one. There are additional fees involved in that. And not all home inspectors are radon measurement specialists. So if they're not, a lot of times they will actually call us and we work with other home inspectors just doing standalone radon tests for them. We have good relationships with our fellow inspectors. And just like us, maybe we go far away sometimes and we don't want to go back to retrieve a radon test. We will reach out to other inspectors or other subcontractors that we use. So we all kind of have a network where we help each other in and around the area.
Oh, that's great. Do you recommend getting a radon test with every new home purchase?
I would, definitely. There's too many times where I hear people say, oh, I don't need a radon test because it's a slab on grade or it's a crawl space or it's a brand new home. I don't need it. Well, like I said, I found it everywhere and you can't smell it. You can't taste it. You don't know that you're breathing it. There's no way to know you have radon unless you test for it.
Okay, well, that's very good to know. Thank you. I do have one more question come in. I have an older home and probably a passive system. Can I put in a fan to make it an active system?
Absolutely. You definitely can. So there are some requirements with fans. You do not want them in the living space. I have seen them where people put the fan in the basement. Okay, you don't want that because if you get any leaks on the exhaust end of the fan, you're drawing all of that radon and then pumping it into the house. So you want the fan in the attic. Okay, so put it in the attic where if it were to leak up there, it's not going to affect anything because gas would vent out through the natural attic ventilation. So just make sure that you put it in a non-livable space.
Great suggestion. That makes a lot of sense. If there aren't any other questions, I think we are wrapping up for today. Jay, thank you so much for your time. I know that it's been a really busy couple of months for you as the market's picking back up. So I appreciate your time.
All right. Well, thank you very much for having me. Have a good day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you tuning in. On behalf of Tools for Life Learning Center, we hope to see you back. Next week, you can join us at 2 p.m. For Small Hand Tools with Dave. We hope to see you there.